All right, so today we're gonna be diving into this concept of taqwa.
Okay.
And you've probably heard this before, maybe thinking it's all about, the do's and don'ts, halal and haram.
Right.
But what if I told you that it's actually a lot deeper than that?
Yeah.
What if it's about how we actually treat each other?
Hmm.
Especially those that we might see as, less powerful than ourselves.
That's a really great point. And taqwa at its core is about, being aware of Allah's presence in every single interaction.
Right.
And it shapes everything.
Oh, yeah.
How we act, how we speak, how we react.
So to really get into this, we're going to be exploring two powerful stories from the Quran.
Okay.
And they're kind of contrasting tales.
Interesting.
One about a king at the height of his power.
Okay.
And the other about a wealthy man's downfall.
Wow.
And it's really going to be a journey of understanding humility, respect, and ultimately what a true success really looks like.
And it's interesting because these aren't just, ancient stories. They offer timeless lessons.
Okay.
About how we navigate these power dynamics, relationships at work, even how we treat people that we don't even know.
So first up, we have King Solomon Suleiman, peace be upon him.
Okay.
This is a man who had it all, a vast empire, armies of humans and jinn. He could even talk to animals.
Wow.
Like an incredible leader, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But here's what really struck me.
Okay.
He notices one little bird missing from his flock.
Hmm.
And he's genuinely concerned.
Wow.
Like it's a small detail, but it says so much about him.
It really highlights his humility, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The first thing that Solomon does is he turns inwards and he blames himself.
Right.
Like, what's wrong with me, he asks.
Wow.
And this is such a powerful lesson for us, especially, in the context of leadership.
Right.
Think about our own workplaces, right?
Yeah.
Do we treat everyone from the CEO to the security guard with the same level of respect?
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
It's so easy to kind of fall into these hierarchies,
Right.
and think some people are more deserving of our respect than others.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then the story takes this even more interesting turn.
Okay.
The missing bird actually talks back.
What?
It claims to have knowledge that even Solomon, with all his wisdom, didn't possess.
Wow.
Can you imagine having an employee talk to you like that?
Right. Like you would think someone with Solomon's power might just get angry or dismiss the bird's claims.
Yeah.
But he doesn't.
Oh.
He shows incredible restraint, and he takes the time to actually verify what the bird is saying.
It's a beautiful example of a core Islamic principle, which is, giving someone the benefit of the doubt,
Right.
but also the importance of verification, even when it comes from an unexpected source.
Right.
In fact, this is something we can apply in so many areas of our lives, not just in a professional setting.
Definitely. And so the bird ends up leading Solomon to the discovery of the Queen of Sheba and her kingdom,
Right.
which is a whole other story.
Yeah.
But for now, I think the takeaway is really about Solomon's character.
Exactly. Are we open to ideas from unexpected sources?
Right.
Do we shut down those we perceive as lower than us in the social hierarchy?
Yeah.
How can we cultivate that balance of humility and leadership that Solomon embodied so perfectly?
Okay, so shifting gears now, let's talk about Qaroon.
All right.
Here we have a man of immense wealth.
Yeah.
But unlike Solomon,
Right.
he's arrogant, and he loves to boast about his knowledge being the sole reason for his success.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've all come across a know-it-all like Qaroon at some point in our lives.
And it brings up a really important distinction.
Okay.
Believing in your own abilities is one thing.
Right.
But attributing success solely to yourself shuts out any sense of gratitude to God or recognition of the contributions of others.
Qaroon was all about flaunting his wealth, making others feel small in comparison.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it feels so relevant to our modern world,
Yeah.
with this constant pressure to show off and build up our image on social media.
It makes you wonder, how does all of that affect the way we interact with each other?
Yeah, are we truly happy for others' successes? Or do we let envy and comparison creep in?
It's a real challenge in today's world.
Absolutely. And Qaroon's downfall is a pretty dramatic one.
Okay.
He ends up being swallowed by the earth, along with all of his riches.
Wow.
And, the people who envied him, the ones who felt belittled by his displays of wealth, they actually feel a sense of relief when this happens.
It's a stark reminder that true success isn't measured by material possessions
Right.
or by putting others down. It's about our character, our humility, the way we treat those around us, regardless of their social standing.
So we have these two very different stories, right?
Yeah.
One man who was humble despite his immense power, and another who is consumed by arrogance, despite having far less. It really begs the question, which path leads to true respect and lasting success?
Right.
Which one resonates more with you?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I think it's something to really think about. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, it makes you think about, our own lives. Like, we're not kings or wealthy merchants.
Right.
But these lessons about humility and respect, they feel so universal.
They really do.
Right.
And, it makes me think about a beautiful example from the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Okay.
You remember the story of Abdullah ibn Maktoum,
Oh, yes.
the blind companion?
Yeah, I remember this.
He approached the Prophet while he was, engaged in a conversation with some leaders of the Quraysh.
Right.
And Abdullah was seeking knowledge, but the Prophet, even if just for a moment, showed a slight frown.
Yeah.
Because he was interrupted.
And what's amazing is that Allah revealed verses of the Quran, Surah Abasa,
Right.
gently rebuking the Prophet for that subtle reaction.
Exactly. And,
Right.
if the Prophet, the most perfect example of character, needed that reminder, it really puts things into perspective for us, right?
It's a humbling thought.
Yeah.
I think we've all been in situations where we haven't shown that same level of patience and respect, especially with those we might consider, less important.
Yeah. It's a constant journey of self-improvement, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be more mindful of our interactions, even in those small, seemingly insignificant moments.
But how do we actually apply these lessons to our own lives?
Yeah.
We might not be ruling empires, but we still have those daily interactions, right?
Right.
Those moments where we can choose to act with humility and respect.
Absolutely. We have our families, our colleagues, our friends, even strangers that we encounter every single day.
Right.
It's about approaching each person with the same level of respect we'd show someone in a position of authority.
Yeah.
Imagine if we brought that awareness to every interaction.
It could create such a profound shift in our relationships and in society as a whole.
Right. And it makes me think about Ramadan, which is coming up.
Yeah.
It's not just about the rituals. It's about that inner transformation.
Right.
Becoming more humble, more considerate, more aware of our impact on others.
It's about embodying the true essence of Taqwa, that consciousness of Allah that guides our every action.
It's about recognizing the inherent dignity in every human being, regardless of their background, their beliefs, their social status.
It's so easy to forget that sometimes.
Right.
Especially in the hustle and bustle of daily life.
Yeah.
We get so caught up in our own goals and desires, and we lose sight of the bigger picture.
It's a constant struggle, but one that's worth striving for.
Yeah.
And I think that's where this concept of adult justice comes in.
Okay.
Taqwa isn't just about being nice to people. It's about recognizing their inherent rights, their value in the eyes of Allah.
That's such an important point.
Yeah.
It's about treating people fairly, ensuring their needs are met, speaking up against injustice wherever we see it.
Exactly. And that goes beyond just, interpersonal interaction.
Yeah.
It's about advocating for social justice, for economic equality, for a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
So how do we translate these grand ideals into tangible actions? Like, what does it look like to live a life of Taqwa in a world that often feels so far removed from those values?
It starts with those small everyday choices.
Right.
It's about choosing kindness over anger, patience over frustration, generosity over selfishness. It's about being mindful of our words, our actions, the impact they have on others.
So let's say you've wronged someone.
Okay.
You've treated them poorly.
Right.
Or maybe you just haven't been as kind as you could have been.
Yeah.
What's the first step towards making things right?
I think it begins with acknowledging the harm we've caused, even if it was unintentional. Taking responsibility for our actions, seeking forgiveness, and making a sincere effort to change our behavior.
It's about reaching out to that person, apologizing, making amends.
Right.
It might be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's a powerful step towards embodying Taqwa in our relationships.
And even if we haven't specifically wronged someone, we can always strive to be more mindful, more compassionate, more generous in our interactions.
Like, imagine if we treated every single person we encountered with the same level of respect and kindness that we would show to someone we deeply admire or someone in a position of authority.
It could have a ripple effect, creating a more just and compassionate society.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that every person, regardless of their social standing, is deserving of our respect and kindness.
It's about embodying the verse from Surah Al-Hujurat.
Okay.
The most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you.
And that righteousness, that nobility, it comes from our character, our actions, our commitment to living a life that reflects the values of Islam.
It's about striving for excellence, in our interactions, in our relationships, in our contribution to the world around us.
And I think this is where those stories that we discussed earlier become so powerful.
Yeah.
They serve as reminders, as guides on this journey of self-improvement.
They show us the consequences of arrogance and the rewards of humility. They highlight the importance of justice, respect, and compassion in our interactions with others.
And they inspire us to strive for a world that reflects the mercy and beauty of Allah's creation. It's amazing how these stories, though, from centuries ago feel so relevant to our lives today. It's like they hold up this mirror to our own hearts, our own struggles with ego status and the way we treat others.
They really do. And thinking back to Solomon's concern for even a single bird, it makes you realize the immense value that Allah places on all of creation.
It really makes you wonder, if Allah cares so much about our treatment of a tiny bird, how much more does he care about how we treat each other?
Absolutely.
His most precious creation.
It really reframes our entire perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not just about these grand gestures or major life decisions. It's about those everyday interactions, those small acts of kindness and compassion that truly reflect our taqwa.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive, what's one key takeaway you hope our listener will walk away with today?
I think it's the understanding that taqwa isn't this, abstract concept reserved for scholars or saints. It's a way of life. A conscious effort to bring Allah into every aspect of our being, from the way we conduct business to the way we treat our families, our neighbors, even as strangers on the street.
It's about embodying those values of humility, respect, and justice. In everything we do.
Absolutely.
Recognizing that our worth isn't tied to our wealth, our status, our accomplishments, but to the content of our character and our actions.
It's a journey, a constant process of learning, growing, striving to be better versions of ourselves.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's not about perfection, but about progress. About taking those small steps each day to align our lives with the teachings of Islam.
And remembering that even those small steps can have this ripple effect, creating a more positive and compassionate world around us.
This has been such a thought-provoking conversation.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like I've gained a whole new understanding of what it means to live a life of taqwa.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
So to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has inspired you to reflect on your own journey of taqwa. How can you bring more humility, more respect, more compassion into your daily interactions?
Yeah, what small steps can you take today to make a positive difference in the world around you? Remember, even the smallest act of kindness done with sincerity and for the sake of Allah can have a profound impact.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Okay.
Until next time, may Allah guide us all on the path of taqwa and grant us success in this life and the next.
Ameen.